couple of minor transactions yesterday after kind of a weird weekend for the hockey club, but it all might add up to something good here really soon. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. The Penguins are in Philadelphia tonight to take on the Flyers. That's a 7:08 p.m. face-off at what they're now calling Xfinity Mobile Arena. Still the same old FU center to all the rest of us, and appropriately so given the location. And something else will change in that setting, because Tristan Brose and Danton Heinen were sent back to Wilkes-Barre yesterday. This after the Penguins had a wonderful comeback in Columbus to finally win one in overtime, and then just got scorched on the scoreboard anyway by the Maple Leafs, in large part because, not to keep repeating this and not to be mean, Artur Shilovs does not strike me as an NHL caliber goaltender. But with each of these things that happens, with the notable exception of injuries, it feels to me like the roster, the active roster, the Pittsburgh roster, continues to get closer and closer and closer to what everybody should be coveting, which is, to go back to the very beginning of the season, and I'm talking about Madison Square Garden, a younger, faster, fresher, bigger, stronger, a little bit edgier, and a lot more responsible edition of this team than we've seen in some time. Now, a lot's changed since the Garden. The biggest changes, unfortunately, have been injuries. When you lose Rickard Rakell, that throws off everything about your top six, your power play. Again, just everything. His loss is a big one. But losing Justin Brazeau after those 6 quick goals, that's not great. Losing Noel Acciari after, I've not been his biggest fan in his tenure here, okay? But I'll openly acknowledge when anybody's making me and my stance look bad, and he was doing that. He was playing good hockey. And then, of course, Philip Hollander going down with a blood clot. That took him off of the first line, which made the first line revert to kind of being a defensive wreck. And sure enough, as soon as Hollander went down, it was minuses galore for Sidney Crosby and Brian Rust. And so you are reminded really that the best way to navigate that issue is to, have Rakell so you can just be on offense a lot more. But Ben Kindle progresses. Kindle finds himself a home, again, at least for now, in the NHL. Who knows what this mysterious, secretive development plan will have him doing next, or if he can go to World Juniors. Harrison Brunick can go. Remember, they were both in that lineup at the Garden, and they were both a bunch of fun to watch. And had you were just feeling something. You were feeling something. Whereas over these past 2-3 weeks, arguably over most of November, you're looking out there and you're seeing the same old Heinen types that are just killing time. You're waiting for the next Sid shift or the next Gino shift. It is just a little bit too familiar at times, especially up front, especially as it relates to scoring. Well, I'll tell you right now that I'll be really, really, really surprised if Rutger McGroarty isn't one of those who's going to come up to replace Brose/Heinen, because McGroarty has played now 5 games in the AHL, and regardless of what his injury was that's had him out months now, while there are a lot of differences between the NHL and AHL levels, the physical punishment isn't exactly one of them. So if you can play 5 games down there and you can produce 4 goals and 3 assists in that time and be on the power play and kill penalties, it's probably not going to be all that different to be doing it in the NHL. And that's good. That's a positive. That's another piece. Every time this happens, it's a positive, at least in the moment. I feel like Koivunen opened the season with the Penguins, got sent back down after just 2 really horrible games where he just looked like he was lost, but he made it back up. Positive. That's a space you're happy to give in the lineup. Still got to earn it, but you're happy when it happens. Now, Bros, I have no idea. I've got to do some digging here because that one made no sense. He came up last week. They had him go through all the interviews. He was part of the turkey distribution that all 3 of Pittsburgh's teams did together. He was interviewed over there. It seemed like a really, really big deal. Had a zillion people, family and friends at his debut. And they scratched him for the next 2 games, and then they sent him back down. I did not see him being terrible, and I certainly did not see him being worse than Heinen and a bunch of these other guys that are just putting up nothing but zeros every night. But then one doesn't always know everything by just watching the game. So like I said, there's something to look into there. But I'll take this. And I'll take more of these guys coming back from injuries and setting this team back on more of that course or more of that feeling that you had in watching them at the Garden. That, wow, hey, look at them. Penguins haven't looked like that in years. That's really cool. More of these kids, less of the 20 or late 20-somethings that are just putting up zeros. Or in Anthony Mantha's case, he's got 8 goals, and I don't like anything about him when I watch him play, other than that he's got size, but he doesn't even use that. Another topic for another day. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Rich, who says, DK, you've been 100% right about the Penguins' passengers, especially considering the phase that the team is in. I expect that this season as a whole will weed out more of those passengers and continue to build drivers. They do have some nice pieces, but they still need, I think, that one true driver to complement Sidney Crosby. There are too many deeper teams in the conference that started slow and will inevitably climb. And yeah, I know that's easier said than done. There are some teams, by the way, down there, Rich, at the bottom of those East standings. I mean, the Panthers are down there, right down there, stuck in the middle of the Rangers, the Blue Jackets, the Maple Leafs, and the Sabres. I expected the other 4 to be down there, certainly not Florida, and that's even allowing for the injuries to Alexander Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk. Your point certainly stands. You look at the rest of the conference. First of all, the Lightning and the Hurricanes each have 34 points through yesterday's games. The bottom team, the Sabres, has 24. The difference between the Penguins and those 2 teams that I just mentioned is just 5 points. And the Penguins have a game in hand on each of them. But as far as a driver that has something to do with Sid, I didn't get the impression from the way you worded that, Rich, that you were saying it has to be on Sid's line. You just mean somebody else, I think, who would help support the cause. To date, that's really just been Ben Kindle. And no, of course I'm not counting Evgeny Malkin. He's been there to help drive things with Sid forever, and he's obviously off to a terrific start. But when I think of support, when I think of scoring depth, offensive depth, the only name that's even popping into my head is Kindle. And that's been my top concern here for quite some time. I don't see enough goals coming from A, not the power play, and B, not Sid or Gino, or something directly related to Sid or Gino. And that formula, that's not going to hold up. I don't think that'll hold up even once Ricard Raquel and Justin Berzeau are back, you need other people to score. And you need to try to push for different ways to get that, which is partly why it's disappointing that Bros wasn't even given a dozen minutes here. Neither was Sam Poulin, really, if you think about it, and those were the top 2 scorers in Wilkes-Barre. So yeah, I'd really welcome seeing, get Ville Koivunen his first goal. Get him his first NHL goal. You can see it yourself. You don't need to, hear interviews from me or anything like that. You can see his reactions when he's either missing on chances or, more commonly, taking forever to get the shot off. Get it, shoot it. Better yet, just shoot it. Don't even settle the thing. He's taken so long, he's trying to set it so that he can read Gary Bettman's signature on the puck before he lets it go. Just shoot it, kid. Get some goals out of these kids. Get them feeling good about themselves and about each other. Maybe put together a kid line. Let the rest of it really just sort itself out. Now, that said, I can tell you unequivocally that what the Penguins have been talking about, especially since the Toronto game, even though they nearly doubled the Maple Leafs in shot attempts, even though they're all intelligent enough to know that the goaltending was the killer in that game, meaning Artur Shilov's, as usual, their focus in Philadelphia, what's expected to be a full skate this morning, and then the game, of course, will be defending, will be cutting down high-grade chances, which, by the way, the Maple Leafs did have. And this was what Sid had to say after that game on that subject.
Well, I think just focusing on, making sure that, the slot, the areas that are prime scoring areas, that we take care of that. Every team's going to have guys who are dangerous and, they're going to be opportunistic. So you can't give them ones, of that quality and expect to win games. So I think just, focus on our own end and let everything else kind of take care of itself.
He's Sid. He's right. Let's call this one a day. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to have another one tomorrow.